Good morning. Thanks for coming. Today we're going to announce an enhanced DWI enforcement campaign that starts tonight that's running through Labor Day. We've got several speakers. We've got several people with us today. We're going to start off with Donna Berger, who is our Director of our Office of Traffic Safety. And then Lieutenant Eric Roski from the State Patrol will have some comments. We have 4 individuals here with us who are among the top DWI enforcement officers in the state. We have Sergeant Stu Burke, S-T-U-B-U-R-K-E of the St. Paul Police Department, who has more than 2,600 DWI arrests during his career. We have Lieutenant Chris Erickson from the State Patrol. Chris is C-H-R-I-S. Erickson is E-R-I-C-K-S-O-N. He has more than 1,600 arrests during his career. Sergeant Dwayne Siedschlag of White Bear Lake Police Department. Dwayne is D-U-A-N-E. Siedschlag is S-E-I-D-S-C-H-L-A-G. He has more than 800 arrests during his career. And then Lieutenant Brian Rue of the Minnesota State Patrol, B-R-I-A-N-R-E-U. He has more than 1,200 arrests. So behind me, we've got more than 6,000 arrests between these 4 officers. So Donna will have some comments, Lieutenant Roski will have some comments, and then we're going to hear from a couple of these gentlemen, and then we'll take questions. So with that, Donna, thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for being with us today. I'm Donna Berger. I'm the Director of the Office of Traffic Safety with the Department of Public Safety. Today we are announcing an enhanced statewide DWI enforcement campaign. It will start tonight and it will run through Labor Day. Here with us are Lieutenant Eric Roski of the State Patrol and Minnesota law enforcement officers who've made a tremendous amount of DWI arrests during their career. The reason for this campaign is simple. Drunk driving is a serious problem and a major threat on our roads. There were over 585 drunk driving deaths in the last 5 years. We average over 30,000 DWIs each year in Minnesota, and 1 in 7 Minnesotans have a DWI on their record. This effort will also aim to address the rising traffic deaths we've seen in 2013. To emphasize the enforcement efforts, the Department of Public Safety will be providing live updates of some of the DWI arrests as they happen tonight. These updates will be posted on our Office of Traffic Safety Twitter feed, and we'll also have some digital billboards with some updates around the Twin City area. The arrest updates will include the age, gender, location, and alcohol concentration, but no personal information. The use of social media is important for us to underscore the strong DWI enforcement activity that's going to be happening tonight, and most importantly, to encourage people to secure a sober ride and avoid the risk and the dangers associated with drunk driving. We can prevent drunk driving tragedies, and we're asking every Minnesotan to be our partner and to do their part. Plan ahead for a sober ride and avoid taking that risk. I'd now like to introduce Lieutenant Eric Roski.
Thank you, Donna, and thank you all for being here today. As Donna mentioned, the statewide and nationwide DWI enforcement begins tonight. Obviously, with over 500 people killed in the last 5 years, this drunk driving remains a huge problem. It's also evident in that we have over 30,000 people arrested each year in Minnesota. For all those who have been caught, we know there are plenty who have not. All it takes is one crash, one arrest to turn your life upside down. To avoid the risk and avoid the consequences, we need to plan ahead. With us today are some of the leading DWI enforcers who have helped keep our roads safe by arresting drunk drivers. Between them, they have over 6,000 DWI arrests in their careers. They're dedicated to enforcing DWI laws because they've seen the tragedies associated with drunk driving. I'd like them now to share some of their stories. Chris.
Good afternoon. When I started into law enforcement, I already had a passion instilled in me to remove impaired drivers from the roads, and that started before my first day on the job. One of my long-term friends was involved in a very serious crash in Inver Grove Heights 20-some years ago, and his unborn child was killed, his girlfriend was killed, another couple in the car, they were both killed, and the impaired driver that rear-ended them at the stoplight was killed along with his passenger. And when I became friends with this individual, I made a promise to him once I got into law enforcement, and the promise was simply this: don't let these people go, don't give breaks for DWI. So that instilled a passion in me from the onset of my career, and that passion's been fueled more and more throughout my career by seeing some of the horrific crashes that could be prevented. They're completely senseless if people would make better decisions, and knocking on doors at 2, 3 in the morning in my career doing death notifications. And that always just hits us home. We're human too, and you realize that these are all people, and their senseless deaths and tragedies, they could all be avoided if people made responsible decisions. So, thank you.
On that note, I would just like to bring up one of the most memorable arrests that I made in my career. It was a young lady who was at an underage drinking party in a neighboring city, and she received a text message from her father. He wanted her to come home. So she did. She was afraid to say that she had been drinking and that she would need a safe ride home. She just tried to get home to make her father happy. Nothing tragic happened other than she got arrested for DWI, but at 19 years old, that flipped her life upside down. This was a preschool teacher who had, aside from that one night, a lot of things going for her. And when I spoke to her father afterwards, I just reminded him that he can tell her that he will be there for her and pick her up if ever she needed it, but that he's really got to mean it. And for whatever reason, she didn't feel she could notify him and tell him that she'd been drinking. And then this happened. It could be avoided. Thankfully, nothing worse than her being arrested for DWI happened, but this could have been avoided. Thank you.
Okay. While these officers each do their job to prevent drunk driving, we all have a role to do the same. Here's what you can do. Plan for a safe ride. Designate a sober driver, use a cab or public transportation, or simply stay at the location where you're celebrating. Offer to be a designated driver. Be available to pick up a loved one anytime, anywhere. Report drunk driving. Dial 911 if you see a suspected impaired driver. Be prepared to provide a location, license number, and the dangerous behavior you've observed. All too often we go to these crashes where people are hurt or killed, and someone will stop and they'll relate that they've followed this vehicle for a number of miles, they saw it swerving, they didn't know what to do. If you think someone's a danger to others on the road, you need to call 911 and get an officer out there to intervene. Buckle up. Anytime you're in a vehicle, wearing your seatbelt is your best defense in the event of a crash or an encounter with a dangerous drunk driver. We just want to reiterate that these extra patrols start tonight. Be smart, be safe, and don't risk a DWI. Thank you. Oh, yeah, and if you have any questions for me or any of the officers here, I'll now take those.
How many more officers do you have on the roads for this weekend than normal?
I don't have an exact number of squads, but we're putting significant resources towards the Labor Day campaign, and then it will be statewide. So it'll be state patrol along with city and county. So the whole state will be covered.
And it starts tonight and goes through Sunday?
It starts tonight and it goes through Labor Day.
Labor Day.
And the money for the overtime is coming from where?
That is coming from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. It's federal money that we grant out through the State Patrol and to local law enforcement.